Darksiders Genesis originally came to Nintendo Switch more than 6 years ago, and somehow I completely missed this one. So I decided to finally give it a try in 2026, playing the Nintendo Switch version on my Switch 2. And after spending some time with it, I have to say, this game is a lot of fun. If you've seen Darksiders Genesis before, the first thing you'll probably notice is the perspective. Unlike the traditional third-person Darksiders games, Genesis uses a pulled-back, almost isometric camera that immediately gives it the appearance of something like Diablo or Torchlight. But once you actually start playing it, you realize this isn't really a traditional loop-based action RPG. This is still very much Darksiders. You're exploring environments, finding secrets, doing some platforming, solving environmental puzzles, and of course, beating the absolute daylights out of demons. And that combat is probably the thing that surprised me the most. I've primarily been playing as War, and swinging that enormous sword around just feels good. The attacks have weight to them, the controls feel responsive, smashing through groups of enemies is satisfying, and there are enough different attacks and abilities that the combat doesn't immediately feel repetitive. It's exactly the kind of combat where you can sit down intending to play for 20 minutes and suddenly realize you've been playing for an hour. I also really like the balance between combat and exploration. You're not simply being dropped into one arena after another. There are quieter stretches where you're exploring the environment, looking for collectibles, figuring out where to go next, or finding something hidden off the main path. Then another group of enemies appears, and the giant sword comes back out. That rhythm works extremely well, and considering this is an older Nintendo Switch game, I think Darksiders Genesis still looks surprisingly good. The environments have plenty of atmosphere, the character animations still hold up, and that pulled-back camera actually helps the game visually. I'm playing the original Nintendo Switch version through backward compatibility on Switch 2, rather than a native Switch 2 release, and so far, I've been really happy with the experience. But there's one thing worth knowing before buying it. If you're looking at Darksiders Genesis and thinking, this is basically Diablo with Darksiders characters, that's not quite what you're getting. There is progression, abilities, upgrades and things to discover, but this isn't built around constantly finding randomized weapons and armor and comparing loot. It's much closer to an isometric action-adventure game, and personally, I think I actually like that. Instead of spending half my time staring at inventory screens, comparing whether one sword gives me 3% more damage than another sword, I'm spending my time actually playing the game. Exploring, fighting, finding secrets, and smashing demons with an enormous sword. Which brings us to the big question. Is Darksiders Genesis still worth playing on Nintendo Switch in 2026? For me, absolutely. This isn't one of those older games where I'm recommending it because of nostalgia. I didn't have nostalgia for Darksiders Genesis. I basically discovered it in 2026, and I'm having a blast. The combat still feels excellent. The isometric perspective gives the game a distinctive look. There's plenty to explore, and, most importantly, it still feels genuinely fun to play. If you enjoy single-player action games, hack-and-slash combat, exploration, or you've ever looked at Darksiders Genesis in the Nintendo eShop and wondered whether it's still worth your time, I think it is. In fact, this might be one of those older Nintendo Switch games that deserves a little more attention than it's getting these days, and I'm definitely going to keep playing it. If you've played Darksiders Genesis, let me know what you thought of it in the comments. And if you're discovering it for the first time like I am, maybe we've both just found an old gem. Thanks for watching.